Well, a sad statistic out of Texas, 43 people have died from drowning just this year. Take a look at this map. The red marks show where those drownings happened across the state, and 3 of them were right here in Wessex County. All of them children, the youngest just 8 months old, who drowned while he was in a bathtub. Our 3 News reporter Marissa Cummings explains how a local group called Colin's Hope is trying to change these statistics.
Colin's Hope is an event meant to raise money for victims of drowning accidents and highlight swimming safety. In my 23 years of living, I just took swimming lessons, and swimming along with water safety is crucial to know, especially in a city like Corpus Christi. Dee Hargis is the head swim coach at Veterans Memorial High School, where Colin's Hope is being held. She says drowning is more prevalent than people think.
Drowning is the #1 cause of death amongst children between ages 4 and 14.
Hargis says in order to prevent drowning, it's much more than just knowing how to swim.
Being water safe, they have to understand the limitations of their bodies and how to be able to save themselves in a scary situation.
Kenyatta Duckworth says she wished her son knew more about how to be water safe. 2 years ago, he died at the age of 16 swimming in a lake. She says she never thought to have the conversation about drowning because her son knew how to swim, but that wasn't enough.
Even experienced swimmers always have some type of flotation device or a life jacket when they're in open water because the conditions are unpredictable and sometimes very dangerous.
Another part of the Colin's Hope event is high school swimmers doing laps in the pool in remembrance of drowning victims. Kaylani Phillips swam in memory of Duckworth's son.
I feel honored to be a part of this because it's such a good organization and it's very needed around water like Corpus Christi.
And Duckworth says she felt honored too.
It tells me that his death wasn't in vain and that hopefully we can save some lives so that no other mom has to go through, what I have to go through losing a child.
This year's fundraiser goal for Colin's Hope was $10,000, and volunteers say they hope to exceed that goal next year. Marissa Cummings, 3 News.